Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. All right, excellent. We have some audio. That's the important thing. So I thought we were going to be a little bit late this afternoon. I had some issues with the microphone, good old classic Windows stuff. If you're a Windows user, you will know exactly what I mean. So welcome back, everyone, to another Firestorm Studios live stream. My name is Pat, and we are continuing with our A to Z of sculpting creatures inside of Zbrush. So we are on the letter W. We're on the final four now, and it's been a really exciting series. We started this all the way back in November of 2025, and it's been a lot of fun to work on. I'm not going to lie, it's been a lot of fun. But we're almost at the end. And for W, I decided to do one of my favorites, and I think quite a lot of people like this character. And if they don't like the character, they also like they might like the film. It's Disney's original The Sword in the Stone. And it's the kind of the comic relief antagonist of the wolf that's always trying to catch the character Wart when he's turning into a squirrel or a fish or anything like that. So with that in mind, folks, we're going to go in and get started. But as always, if there's any questions, any issues with video or audio, please do let me know in the chat. And also shout out, say hi, let me know how you're all doing. It's the end of the week. We're almost at the weekend. So everyone will be, I'm sure, looking forward to relaxing and, taking it easy. Same thing, really, but there we go. All right, folks. For this character, I want to approach it with some primitives, and I think eventually what I might like to do is turn it into maybe a pen holder. And I think we're going to use this main reference up here as the final look. And I've just got this side profile in from the film just to help me with those shapes. Hey, Holly, afternoon. How are you doing? Thanks for coming in. Something to point out though as well, folks, if you are looking to interpret or create a character from something and you're trying to catch a likeness, whether it's a cartoon character or a real person, your profile image is going to be your most important one. Okay, it's the most accurate one that you can get for things like eye depth, nose length, that type of thing. All right, so let's get stuck in. We're going to start with a sphere 3D. And by this point, I imagine you could turn my live streams into a drinking game. How many times I say so, how many times I say all right, folks, how many times I say Z-sphere, starting with a sphere, make polymesh 3D, pick whichever you want, whatever bingo one suits your heart. All right, folks, let's get stuck in here. We're going to take our sphere here, turn it into a Q sphere, and subdivide it once. And we'll delete the lower so that we end up with this shape here. And similar in a way to how we created the hippo several weeks back. I'm so excited for this sculpt. Thank you, Holly. Thank you. Me as well. Me as well. He's definitely one of my favorite characters. So similar to how we created the hippo, we're going to block this out with primitive shapes. And I actually think I have a shot from the front. So we're going to bring that in as well, if I can find it. That one will do. It's a little bit weird looking, but it'll do. So we'll add this in. And what's great about doing a character like this is it allows us to cover quite a lot of different aspects of interpreting something, because every image here you look at is slightly different. It's on model, but it's going to look slightly different because it's drawn exactly as the animators and the art directors wanted it to look, which means that they can take certain liberties with the shape of an eyebrow, how many tufts of fur the character might have, depending on what kind of emotion that they're trying to convey. So we have to take that into consideration when we're sculpting our 3D version, and come to terms with the fact that we're not necessarily going to be able to match it 100%. All I'm doing at the moment is creating this back section here of the head. And then when I look at the front image, we can see that the back section includes the tufts. So I want to make sure that I get that shape in as well. There we go. That's looking okay. For the snout, I think we will make, let's see, let's append a new shape. So let's append, what shape will work best for this? I'll try another sphere. And I'm going to do the same thing I've done before. I'm going to duplicate this and just save it as a backup so that I don't have to keep making one every single time. I think the first thing I'm going to do actually is I'm going to make the nose. And I apologize if you can hear noise behind me, folks. I have my office window open and my AC running because it is just too hot today. So you may hear traffic and potentially people in the background. So what's everyone doing with their Friday? Are we listening in while at work? Or are we just relaxing in the garden reading a book? I guess if you're relaxing in the garden reading a book, you're not going to be watching a live stream of someone making a wolf from an almost 50-year-old film. I'm going to turn on the opacity here. And that's just going to allow me to move certain shapes over and see how they're looking. That's not bad. We can do a little bit better though. There we go. So that gets the nose shape roughly correct. We're going to take the sphere here. I'm going to use that for the front of the nose. I'm going to make the muzzle. You don't necessarily have to make that long snout with one piece. It actually does make sense to make it up out of several pieces, and you're then going to get all the subtleties of the character shape. Listening while working, excellent. So close to finishing this super long roto shot. Oh, amazing. Rotoscoping is a somewhat underrated art form, I think, in our industry. It's such an important aspect of VFX, and you don't really see it shown that often in behind the scenes, and I think they really should. Same as match moving, you know, tracking cameras, etc. I think it should get a little bit more, a lot more actually, a lot more visibility in the industry than it tends to. Okay. We'll grab the sphere again here. Duplicate it one more time. And I'm now going to use this because one of the most important parts of this character is going to be his mouth. So we want that to look the right shape. we'll make the muzzle section first, and then we can just add the longer part. Lots of kudos to anyone who does it full time. I don't do it often, but it's pretty intense work. It is. It is. Roto is a very tricky thing to do, and I'm sure there's a lot of. I love how scruffy the character is. Yes. The Sword in the Stone was made around the same time as several other Disney films that used. They were trying to cut corners budget-wise. I know, something that we all can relate to these days. They were trying to cut corners. So what they were doing is, rather than doing the traditional rough line work and then doing cleanup for the cells, they were photocopying the rough line work onto animation cells and then painting them. So that's why films of this era tended to have a much rougher look to some of the animation. Particularly, you notice a lot in Robin Hood and the Jungle Book. They all had very similar kind of scruffy things. You can actually see, if you look really closely in some of the animation shots, you can actually see the rough outline, that like the kind of rough construction line outlines that they use for Mowgli. So let's jump back up to this one, and we'll do that there. So at the moment, this is too close to the face. In fact, oh no, it's not. Maybe it isn't. Let's see. Let's see. Probably is a little bit, but that's all right. We can just move that back. And I think what we will do for the snout is we will take a cube, and let's initialize that into a Q cube. And I'm just going to subdivide it a couple of times. Delete the lower. It's maybe a bit high, but we'll deal with it. We'll make it work. We will make it work. We always do. Make sure symmetry is on. And start to bring this down to make it a bit thinner. And get the shape that I need. Next thing I need to do is I need to make the ears. So if you look at the ear shape here, it can sometimes be a bit challenging to get that scalloped look if you want it to be nice and clean. So let me show you a way that you can do it. If we append a new P-Sphere 3D and go down to initialize, I'm going to make a Q-sphere, but I can actually lower that down and try it again, see if it gives me. I suppose we could do it this way. There's also another way I could do it. Actually, do you know what? Let me undo that. Just had a thought. Just to show you something slightly different, I'm going to do polysphere. And I'm going to get something like this. And in here, I've got a bunch of options that I can change. So I'm just going to change the shape down to something like that. That's also not the one I wanted. Bear with me. Sorry, folks. Brain's obviously not working today. Let me just jump over to a new subtool here. I'm going to do a polysphere, drag that out. And before I turn it into a polymesh 3D, I'm going to go into initialize, and now I'm going to start changing some of the subdivisions. That's what I wanted. I'm going to lower the subdivisions until I get, let's try 4 or 5. There we go. So I want to make a shape like this. Then I'm going to take these these divisions and lower them down. Zbrush isn't great for small variances in the options it gives you here, but I've now got the shape out. Oh, and my display just turned off. Oh, there we go. We're back. In the options that it gives you here. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to take this shape and do a make polymesh 3D so I can work on it, hide everything else, and now I have that scalloped shape to the ear. There's loads of ways that you could do this, but you know, save. Good point. That's a very good point. A very good point. So we'll do save as. Actually, let's do our housekeeping first. And cube up to the top and scale this down. I'm getting the impression that people don't want this model to be lost. I mean, already I can start to see the character coming through, so I'm already quite happy. So we'll just do a quick save. And there we go. So tell me, folks, what is your favorite Disney film? And it can be from, I mean, that's quite a catalogue. It can be from the kind of golden era. It can be from the second golden era. It can be modern day. It can be some of the live action remakes. I'll be honest, I'll be quite surprised if anyone puts a live action remake into the chat. But hey, no judgment. If that's what you grew up with or that's what you like, then that's what you like. Don't let anybody tell you any different. So now that I've got this shape here, I'm going to append it in. I'm going to use this to make my ears. And the reason that we can't do this with just appending it in is that as soon as you append in the sphere, ZBrush will ZBrush is going to turn it into a polymesh 3D, and that can make it a little bit harder to work with. So that's working for me. Grab the move topological brush, and now I've got my ears. Nice and simple. And we'll just do a quick mirror. Merge into one subtool, so I've got both ears. And I'm going to add in another one of these spheres here, just to give myself a bit to work with underneath here, just so I can add the neck in. 2D 101 Dalmatians, 3D Tangled. Oh, Tangled. Wow, I've actually forgotten about that. Sorry, folks, I need to get my footrest. As I, there we go, awkwardly try and get that my feet under the desk. 101 Dalmatians and Tangled. Excellent. I think for me, Jungle Book is always going to be my first and favorite every single time for the 2D. And just overall, and I think maybe Robin Hood and then Sword in the Stone are right up there in my top 3. As for the 3D ones, oh, that's tricky. I don't know if I would class any of the 3D ones in my favorites, but you know, Caligo, hey, how you doing? Welcome back. Welcome back. Right, so we're now going to append in cylinder, do all the boring things, turn it into a Q cylinder. and use that to create the neck. Grab the Z modeler brush and just add in a few manual edge loops. And then I could taper it in other ways, but I'm just going to do it a bit of a lazy way. There we go. There we go. Perfect. Turn symmetry on and then smooth. Lower the intensity, smooth that down. There we go. Grab the move brush and we can use this now to start shaping it out. His neck is actually super, super skinny. Okay. Let's now take, which sphere is that? That's that one inside. So I want to take this one and duplicate it one more time. Probably, no, actually, no, one more time should be fine. And I'm going to take that and use it to create the cheeks. Do a quick mirror and weld. Make sure symmetry's on. And I can start, I'm just creating these areas here. Just kind of bring them out a little bit further from the tufts. There we go. Of course, we're going to need to do eyebrows and we're going to have to do the things like whiskers and teeth and all that kind of good stuff. But for the time being, I'm just going to see what I can do, just reshaping some of the elements here. And I don't like that. Okay, I'm going to run that back. Okay. Bring those cheeks back in. I'm going to move this sphere all the way down to the bottom. There we go. So for the face here, I think what I'll do instead is I'm going to pull this down to soften it. And give us something to kind of just outline the lower part of the eyes. And for those, we need to make some eyes. So let's do append. Actually, let's undo that. And we'll take our polysphere and duplicate it. And let's get those eyes shaped. What I might do here actually, instead of flattening them down completely, I think I'm going to mask out one end of it and just mask that down, like so. Gives me less to deal with in the back of the skull, but it still gives me that the roundness of the eye. And we can pop that into the socket. And do a quick mirror, merge into one subtool, symmetry on, and let's keep tweaking this. How are we doing for time? Okay, we're 32 minutes in, folks. We're 32 minutes in, and it doesn't look like much, I know, but we will get there. We will get there. We're going to have to start bringing things and combining them together a bit here. I just need to see if I have any other reference. The funny thing is, as well, is that the actual face length changes all the time as well throughout the cartoon, and that's just something that you kind of just get used to with these kind of these cartoons. So let's get that nose a lot thinner. And there we go. All right. So take the ears and add a bit of thickness to them. Just using the dynamic subdiv, just add a bit of thickness like that. Don't want to go crazy. In fact, before we do that, you know what I'm going to do? I think I'm going to add in another edge loop there and just use that to thin the ear out a little bit. Just at the base. Just to give it a stalk, if you will, to connect it to the head. A little bit easier. Like that. Maybe pull this forward a bit. There we go. And then we'll add in our thickness. Make them a bit smaller. What I'm going to do as well is I'm going to change the pivot of these just manually. Just pop it in at the end there. Just going to allow me to do some checks with the ears to see how they're actually working. And no matter what kind of level or stylization I'm doing a character to, I will do this. This is a stage I will use a lot, just to make sure everything's working before I commit to putting lots of detail in. I want to give myself the option to make these changes early on, which won't just help me, it'll help a potential production. So that nothing, I mean, it doesn't always work out that way. You will, of course, come across moments where you just need to change something. But okay. So now that we've got the head done, I'm going to delete lower, and I'm going to start bringing these together. So I'm going to merge all these parts here. So let's get, that's the ears. So I'm going to pull them down at the bottom next to the eyes and the neck. Might do the neck actually. Yeah, I'm going to leave the lower mouth for the time being, I think. But everything else we will merge. So there's that. So now I know that everything up to this start icon here, I can safely merge that down. So let me just do a double check here. Back of the head. Not the nose. Want that separate too. Cheeks, back of the head. The inner part of the back of the skull. The front muzzle. And the snout. So we'll save before we go any further. and merge down. Because remember, you just got to be brave. Don't worry about it. You can always fix it later. And if you can't fix what you've done, you can resculpt. It's never ideal, but it's all, the option is always there. Okay. So we're going to grab the remesh by union, exactly the same way that we did the hippopotamus. Subdivide everything once, and then I can use my Sculptors Pro. Actually, you know what? No, we'll just do Sculptors Pro at this point here, just to start blending everything together. For this, I probably could have used Dynamesh, and we're probably going to use it anyway at some stage, but then I'm just going to do a quick coverage of Sculptors Pro so that I can continue sketching in some of the elements. And we're going to pull over this reference image here and rotate it. I'm just going to scale it up, and I'm going to use this as my general reference. I just need to roughly line up what it is we've been doing about there. And now I can see where I'm going wrong. So we bring in the other elements here, like that, and hide this one. I can look at this and go, well, now I know where I need to fix this. So I can first of all rotate the character so he matches up a bit better. And that tells me I'm in the ballpark, which is kind of cool. I'm going to ignore this bottom jaw because I'm going to focus it more on this expression, and he's jutting his jaw out, whereas on this one he's looking really kind of defeated. So that changes the facial shape completely. So you've got to be aware of that when you're using your reference. And again, if you're using a stylized or if you're doing a realistic character, be very aware of the facial expression they're pulling. Okay, is their jaw clenched or anything like that? So what makes likenesses so difficult to do when you're sculpting them from scratch is you just never know. You just never know. So I think what we'll do here is we will go into T-pose mesh, and I will start to tweak some of the shape. Again, I'm going to ignore I'm going to ignore the lower part of the jaw, but I will take this into account, and then I'll take my dam standard, and I'm going to use this to outline where the tooth is going to go and where the rest of the mouth is going to go as well. Maybe a little bit of detail on the put Sculptors Pro on. Maybe a bit hard to see what I'm doing at this stage, folks, but it will become clear in a second. Okay. All right. Okay. Now if we do T-pose sub-T. Oh no, it's broken. What happened there? Which mesh did it destroy? All of them. Well, that's not very good, is it? It's fine, folks. What we can do here, we've only got a few pieces, so what we'll do is we'll just step back one undo for each part, and that will fix the horrific error that just occurred. I'm not entirely sure what happened there. Could have been a number of things. Where's the nose? Is that the nose? Oh no, which, oh, is it this bit here? Let's see. That one bit's okay. Come on, Zbrush. Actually, let me grab the bit I need. There we go. And we're back. It's fine. It's all good. So we'll save again and we'll fix that. So let's save, and this is just going to facilitate us doing it a slightly different way. So it's not a big deal. Not a big deal, folks. That was disappointing. Funny though. Okay. What I'm going to do instead then, I'm going to take the neck and the head and I'm going to do merge visible. Oh no, not merge visible. Sorry, no. Merge down. There we go. So that looks about right to me. And this time I'm going to Z-remesh it. Sorry, Dynamesh it and then do a Z-remesh. So we will do Dynamesh. We will grab a resolution, maybe lower it a little bit, and then hit Dynamesh. I can work with that. Turn off Sculptris Pro. And just start to smooth out some of the shapes. And I think what I will do instead here is I'm just going to do it by eye, and I'm just going to take this here as my indicator, and then his jaw is about here. There we go. And then that means that this kind of comes under here like that. Which means that, see, this is a perfect example. If we look at this reference here, right, of what I was talking about. His muzzle's much wider, and that's to try and facilitate a different, a really exhausted expression, you know, so they've exaggerated that, which I have not taken into account when I've made this bit. So I'm going to have to now narrow that in a little bit more so that it starts to fit with this here. And let's just hide those eyes. Grab the damn standard again. So that's there. So the tooth has to go about here. I'm just going to carve that in with the damn standard brush. And I think what I'm going to need to do here is just sculpt back some of these shapes, like so, and start to kind of just plane off some of this roundness so we can get rid of some of the ballooning, if you will. And I think what I'll also do here is take my build-up brush and I'll start to introduce a little bit of the face. And I think what we've done here is I need to pull these in and smooth them back. And we're going to have to move the actual fur at the side of the head. We're going to have to shift that back a bit. So I'm actually going to get rid of it and instead focus just on the face part, and we can add the fur in later. So I treat this as though he doesn't have that fur. And now if I fix my pressure sensitivity, there we go, I can start to bring this back as though it was actually his mouth and his cheeks. We need to do something about his neck. So I think because we're trying to focus on this as our example, always dangerous to do that, but we'll bring it in and I will attempt to see how much I need to fix. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so everyone can see here. I'm going to get rid of this one. This is always a tricky thing to try and demonstrate. We need to do that a bit more. Okay. I'm just going to lock my camera and just move the things into place. Now, the reason we kept the ears completely separate is for this very reason. Because now I can start thinking about positioning those ears properly. Not too worried about this one in the back. We'll use the one in the foreground as our primary, and then we'll just do something to make the one in the background work. Because remember, these characters are never created with full 3 dimensions. So we will always be on the back foot trying to match a 2D plate like this, unless you are literally going to manipulate your object from a few angles. And you can do it. You'll be able to match it from maybe a few angles, but you'll never be able to get it working in full 3D all the way around. Not without using some tricks like blend shaping and things like that. So do something like that. And then we can bring back the head. Let's see how we do. And while I've got it in this position as well, I can draw in where I need those eyeballs to be. Just very lightly. Let's just see how that looks. Not bad. There's our eyeballs. So now we can see just how off we were with the eyes. So now let's position them. Okay, we're going to unlock the camera and we're going to save our scene. And I don't expect this to look 100% like the image. I just want it to, I want to try and get it in the ballpark a little bit. So and I've lost pressure sensitivity again. I really should upgrade my ZBrush. I'm still running 2026.1.2, but the honest answer is that every time I upgrade to ZBrush to their latest version, it breaks something, so I have to roll back anyway. Yeah, it's just one of those things, unfortunately. But I'm getting a bit frustrated with that, if I'm being totally honest. It'd be nice if when I upgraded to the latest version, it just continued to work, you know. So let's knock back some more of this. And I think as well, we'll start to put, we'll create a tooth for our character. And we can probably start to bring that lower jaw in now as well. So I'm going to take this sphere here. Again, you know, our nice little duplicate. Move it in. And let's start to shape that out. And the tooth is not sharp. They're actually quite blunt looking. I imagine that was a Disney thing. I mean, it could have just been a character design thing, but I would assume it's a Disney thing. I mean, Disney's always been very, you know, they kind of go with the times a lot. So, with their films and what they show in the film. So, let's see now. Let's get you into position. That looks about right. And another thing that you can use as a have I got this aligned correctly is something like a tooth. So right now, it kind of is working, but it's obviously not. I need to kind of maybe extend out the lower jaw and I need to kind of maybe push the upper jaw in just to get a bit of a balance. So we're going to take the jaw and we're going to merge that down. Okay. And we'll just do a remesh by union here and accept that. And then I can just smooth that in. Maybe use a little bit of Sculptors Pro to ease the transition a bit. And we will eventually do a nice clean Z-remesh and a Dynamesh. Because we want this to look quite scruffy, but we also want it to kind of have that nice clean look, similar to how we did Kuzco from The Emperor's New Groove, another one of my my favorites. Next, looking a bit weird. Okay. Bring that tooth back in. And I think he has one on the, he does have one on the opposite side. So we'll do a little, actually, you know what? Part of me kind of wants to leave the other side blank, or maybe do a tooth going the other way. But for the time being, we will just mirror it across. We've got it on both sides. I think that worked. Did I mirror the wrong thing? I think I did. What did I mirror? Okay. What did I mirror by accident? Okay. So you can see all the bumpiness and the wobbliness that we've got. That's completely normal at this stage. And we are missing the tufts of fur at the back. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to add them in with this model here. Just duplicate it, just to kind of create an idea of where they're going to go. And I think the ears need to be moved. They're in the same position, but I need to move them back about here. Again, we're trying to fit a lot into 3D that was done with 2D. So something to bear in mind. This is going to go over the ear as well. So maybe bring the ears in like so. And just mirror that across. Grab the ears and try to blend them into the head a bit better. I think as well, I'm going to make the ears smaller. Maybe rotate them back as well, actually. That feels better to me. Yeah, that feels better. So, got a little lumpy bit here at the front, where his nose is. And we can start sculpting. So what I'm going to do as well, folks, is I'm actually going to, I think it's time to Dynamesh this. But before we do that, we're going to turn our ears into real geometry. So we're going to go back into Dynamic Subdiv. I'm going to apply one level of subdivision. That actually looks okay, to be honest. Yeah. And then hit, where is it? Apply. And then we'll do another quick save. And bear with me, folks. I'm only going to put the break screen up for a short while, just so that I can lower my desk. So I'm going to, because I'm standing at the moment, I'm just going to sit down. So I'll be back in 2 seconds. Pluto 100, thank you very much for the follow. Much appreciated. Okay, now, where were we? Yes, we're going to do a nice clean Dynamesh for this now. So we'll just go into Dynamesh and grab the resolution. Too low, so we'll push that up. And we might be too high now. No, that's fine. So Now we can go into deformation, and I'm going to do a quick polish just to clean it up. And as soon as I've done that polish, I can go in and start to redefine some of my shape. And we're going to just get a nice shape for the front. I'm going to plump it up with the inflate brush. Bring back the nose, go back to dam standard, and start sculpting that in. And refine the shape with trim dynamic. Painted by Nurgle, thank you very much for the subscription. Thank you. Really appreciated. Painted by Nurgle, what a great name. Am I right in saying Nurgle? That sounds familiar to me. Is that 40k? If somebody in the chat could confirm or deny that with me, that would be great. And now I'm just doing what I usually do, folks, and we're just refining the forms. Just breaking it all up. Using the trim dynamic to take off all those sharp edges or the smooth ones and just defining the shape more. But that's brilliant. We have a subscription and a follow. Amazing. And I'm just going to start to sculpt a little bit more of some of these details coming off from where all the fur would actually be coming from at the back. It's one of the hardest things about doing kind of interpretations of 2D characters, particularly from things like Disney, because there is a realism. Because if you remember, if you look at any of the behind the scenes of the old Disney shows, they would always have real life reference, like Bambi, for example. They had deer on set that they would draw from. It makes complete sense when you think about it, but it's just one of those things that not everybody does think about. So I can see a big problem I've made with the eyes. This is all too wide. So I'm going to have to bring the whole thing in a bit. I'm going to save everything again. And we are going to try transpose mesh one more time. Depose mesh. And I'm going to try bringing it all together again. So I'm just going to mask out the nose and just pull that in till I'm happy. Now I have to be aware as well that the reference I'm using is we're looking at it at a 3/4 angle, so that's going to be taken into account too. But I can tell that I've definitely made that too thin. There we go. And T-pose sub T, please don't destroy it. Perfect. And then we can just smooth this bit back. A little bit of trim dynamic on the forehead again. And start to build up the eye sockets and the eyeballs. I mean, I absolutely adore this character. Similar to the the vultures in the Jungle Book. They were great characters too. Lost pressure sensitivity again. It's kind of frustrating. So we're just now trying to get that nice overlap. So I'm going to mask out the bottom jaw. Maybe grab the move brush here and just pull it down. push that up because we're going to have to put a bone in there as well. Hit the just the standard brush, sorry. Keep making that mistake. And just bring that all the way around. You will have to use a bit of artistic license to sculpt in certain forms to create the line work that is evident in the cartoon. So if you are doing something like this and it's not quite working, have a look at what shapes you might be missing in order to create something that looks as it is in the cartoon. So obviously we need to fix the chin here. I'm going to take my trim dynamic and just flatten that down about here. I'm going to use AccuCurve with the move brush to indicate where, oh, something popped up. I missed them though. Oh no, there we go. That's it coming through now. A little bit of a delay for that, but it came through. And so I've used the move brush with AccuCurve just to pull out the points of where I need the fur to go. And then I can just use my clay brush to refine those forms. And then we can go in and tweak the shape a bit. Okay. Doesn't have to be kind of, you know, overly detailed. I'm going to take a mask here though and soften it a bit and just use the move brush to push this up. Turn off AccuCurve. Hexed by 7, thank you very much for the follow. I think I'm going to have to build up some more. I'm going to do this the lazy way. I need to build up a little bit more thickness here underneath the chin. So I am just going to start using the clay build-up brush and just take long strokes and bring them all the way forward. We can use that to reinforce underneath if we wanted to add a bit more fur underneath the character. Now, I know that it's fully symmetrical. We can always go in and clean that up. And to be honest, I have a plan about how I want to do those using a brush that I have. So it's really just temporary at the moment. And all the brushes that I use, folks, you could easily make them yourself. It's just we don't have time on the live stream to go through that. But if you wanted to find out how to do that kind of thing, I would invite you to come and join the Discord for Firestorm, and you can you can put your 2 cents in about what you might want to see on forthcoming live streams, or if you really want to get a hands-on, you can find out more information about the mentorships that are on offer over at Firestorm Studios. I'm just going to dig into here a little bit more. There we go. Now, our one and only Heather had a situation where she was making a bone for a character, and it looked really dodgy. So, I mean, she says that herself, you know, and it did. But don't worry, I'm about to do the same thing. So right, I'm going to save again because we're making fairly good progress here. Ba, 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 ba. Something to be aware of, if you've used the T-pose mesh in ZBrush, when you go to save as, what ZBrush will do is it's going to automatically go back to the T-pose temporary folder in the ZBrush directory. So just be very aware not to accidentally save your model in that folder. I've done it before in the past, lost a model and thought, where is it? Can't find it. What am I going to do? So just be aware of that. Just something to be aware of. Join the Discord. Thank you very much for that, Patricia. Yes, Patricia is moderating for us today, so thank you very much for that. Please do come and join our Discord. We are a good bunch. We're a good bunch. Lost pressure sensitivity again. Just starting to think is more just a Windows thing at this point of view. To be fair, it is actually. I should point that out. When I'm losing pressure sensitivity, it's nothing to do with ZBrush. This is specifically an issue with Windows because of the technology that they use for the pen drivers. So, and what I've always said, that if you do lose your pressure sensitivity in ZBrush, simply use the Alt and Tab key on Windows and jump over to another open window, and then jump back to ZBrush the same way, and you will it will bring back your pressure sensitivity. Okay. I'm just going to take the pinch brush here and do the nose. You got to love I absolutely adore the way that the noses are done. X by 7, thank you, I did join. One of us. Quite right. Welcome to the community, X by 7. It's good to have you. Right. So I'm just going to do this with a nose, and then back over here, we can add a wee bit of a little bump over the top. There we go. And remember, like I was saying, you know, certain parts of it that look like just that will look simply like a piece of line work, we have to interpret that as a different form. And that's why, you know, people go, oh, it's easy, you're just kind of copying. You're not copying. That's something I really want to make people aware of. When you're using a piece of reference, you're never copying it. You are being inspired by it, and you are interpreting it, but you're never doing a one-to-one copy. Even when you see me pull the image over the top of it, I'm just using that as a rough lineup. Okay. So, because people out there will try to disparage you from doing what it is that you want to do in either art or life. And it's very important that you ignore them. As long as you're not hurting anyone, do what makes you happy. That's my motto. If it doesn't hurt anybody else and it's not illegal, then do what makes you happy. So I'm going to push that in there. And I think I might take a little bit of artistic license with the tooth here, because it needs to come out of the lower jaw here. So I'm going to have to add in a little bump. Just a bump. There we go. A little bump. And I'm going to accentuate the lower lip a little bit. A bit messy in here because we don't have Nithium. Thank you very much for the follow. It's going to be a little bit messy in here because we don't have a huge amount of geometry, but we can clean this up fairly well once we get either Z-remeshed or we add a bit more resolution. guess we should do something with the ears, right? Oh, wait a minute. What happened to my ears? Not my ears, his ears. Did we smooth these? Yes, we did. Okay. Oops. Right, let's get them brought into the fray a little bit more. Hey, Nithium, thank you. Thank you very much for the greetings. I hope you're doing well. So again, folks, if you are new to the live stream, I'm going to just do, we've got a few more followers today. So in case you've just joined in, I will do my little introduction thing again for everyone. My name is Pat. I am an CG artist, asset guy, VFX artist, just artist really. I've been working in the industry now for 20 years. I started back in almost 20 years. I started in 2007 as a freelancer, and in 2014 I moved over to the visual effects industry full time, and that's where I kind of reside. But I also like to do live streaming and teaching and mentoring and all that kind of good stuff. And last year I teamed up and met up with the fantastic people over at Firestorm Studios, and I've been enjoying doing lots of live streams for them. So, and just hanging out with them because they're awesome people. So I specialize in characters and creatures primarily, but I'm kind of happy to do pretty much anything really. Somebody says, Pat, can you model this? I go, yeah, sure. No problem. And it's one of those great things because over the years, you think, oh, I've modeled everything. Nope, nowhere close. Nowhere close. That's why doing something like a series like this is so much fun, because you get to make things that you might not otherwise get a chance to make. Oh, hide your face. There we go. Right. Okay. So let's get the bone made. So for the bone, that's the bone that he's kind of got in his mouth here. Let's do. Oh, what time are we at? Oh, hour and 20. Fantastic. Fantastic. Oh, I've just realized that my chair is not set correctly. Okay. I'm going to have a sore back at the end of this. Okay. So for the bone, I hope I learn a lot watching you guys. Well, hopefully I hope that as well. I hope that as well. If you have any queries or questions, folks, please feel free to fire them into the chat. We'll answer if we can. We'll answer if we can. So yeah, like I said, let's get the bone made. So for this, let's do. Yep, we'll make it as dodgy as we can, just for the laughs. So we're going to do a sphere. I'm going to move it up to here, and do something like this. Hold Control, click and drag, Shift to rotate it. And if you hold Shift in ZBrush, what it's going to do is it's going to snap your rotational axes as needed. And now we'll do the second part of the bone. Get your minds out of the gutter. So that's what we're making. We're making a bone here. I don't think it's anything else. We're going to append a cylinder. I'm going to turn that into a 2-cylinder. And let's see, where did the top go? There we go. This is not sus, Patricia, at all. There's nothing sus about what I am doing right now. I mean, if I did that, maybe, but no, it's completely not sus if I do this. It's only fair. Heather had to go through something similar, so, you know. So we will do one half of the bone like so. There we go. And then we'll merge it down. And let's just set that to there and do that. And then that. And scale it down. So we'll do, there we go. So sus now. I apologize, folks. This is a family show, and any similarity to something off-putting, the color is not helping you. Okay. Oh no, that's worse. There we go. Let's do. There we go. Right. There we go. That's fine. It's all good. Mario, you can clip this if you wish. You know, I mean, obviously. So we're just trying to, we're just trying to do something wholesome here. This is Disney. Disney wouldn't do anything weird like this. So there we go. And what I think is funny is the fact we don't even have to say anything. Everyone just knows exactly what we're talking about. The world is, yeah. How do you clip? I have no idea. Not to worry, this entire recording will be going to Mario, so he'll be able to pull out various bits and, yeah. Needs to be bigger. There we go. That's not going to help matters, is it? There we go. Let's make it a bit bigger. And let's Dynamesh it. To be fair, Dynameshing might actually, I don't know if Dynameshing is going to help or if it's going to make it worse. I think it might make it worse. There we go. What a way to end a Friday, folks. Absolutely shocking. There we go. What a way to end a Friday. Losing pressure. Oh, Windows. Windows is really fighting with me today about the pressure sensitivity. Every time I bring up a save window, it seems to be breaking the pressure sensitivity. That's quite frustrating. So thank you once again, Microsoft, for making day-to-day things unnecessarily difficult. Marmite Jar. What a great name. Hello, welcome. Welcome into the stream. Okay. I am just going to hide the crime, and we're not going to worry about the fact that it's protruding at the back of the mouth. We'll just jump into this. Da, 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 da. Would be. Is it possible that would your studio be co-producer or something like that? I'm not sure what you mean, Marmite Jar. If I'm being honest, I just live stream here. That's all I do. I don't really do much else. I do a little bit of mentoring as well, but I mostly just live stream. If you're interested, if you're asking about if Firestorm are hiring, as far as I'm aware, they are not hiring at this time. because I believe, and I only know that because I think on our Discord, I believe Heather was asked about this, and that was her answer. They're not actually hiring at this time. So let's now take that bone and we will mirror it, mirror, and into one subtool. There we go. Probably need to do a bit of a reshape here just so that it's not totally symmetrical. It should probably be something like that. There we go. And then I can fix the mouth later on. There we go. You know what, folks? We might actually do this today. I'm going to take the head shape now and just start to bring that down. Take the eyes and fan them out. Oh, wow, that's really wrong. Okay, I think what I'm going to do here, how do I want to do these eyes? It's all coming together. Thanks, Patricia. I'm quite happy with how it's going so far. I'm going to save it now that I said that because I probably just jinxed myself. And in case anyone is not aware of the rules that we have for this series, is that we are obviously just going through the alphabet and picking a character or a creature that begins with that letter, and then we're sculpting them. Now, the rule is that we're not allowed to use any prep other than looking for reference, and then we have to sculpt everything cold, as I call it. So you can't practice anything, you can't do anything like that. You've just got to come in and sculpt it as is and figure it out on the stream. And the whole point of that was about showcasing to new artists and even existing artists that, you know, things don't go perfectly all the time. And I think sometimes that in the world of social media that we live in, that people can sometimes think that everything just works when you're a professional artist or you're an experienced artist, and it's just not the case. So showing the mistakes, showing the, oh, that didn't work kind of moments, it's important. It's important. Just as about important as pressure sensitivity is to sculpting, Microsoft. I'm going to take my move brush here and just start to tweak I've got AccuCurve on, and that's going to allow me to create some more sharper, cartoony-esque poses and shapes. Sometimes I really consider move from Windows 11 to Pop OS. The only problem, this is the thing, I have tried out several Linux distros, and I run Linux on my laptop. I'm currently running Rocky OS on my laptop. But the problem is that getting software like Zbrush to work is hard enough. Getting it to work with proper pressure sensitivity and all the tools working is even harder. Dynamesh has a huge issue on Linux. It tends to either just not work or it crashes. So it's why I tend not to. It's the one thing. I mean, if all the software I use ended up with a proper stable Linux version tomorrow, I would shift over to Linux instantly. Instantly. Because don't get me wrong, there's a lot of stuff on Linux that works really well. Really well. So this neck is just causing me all sorts of hassle. And I do need to make these ears shorter. Just notice that. So we're going to take the transpose line, the move, and just shrink them down. A bit more. So do that again. A bit more. That's fine. There we go. I haven't changed the Linux yet because of the software. Yeah, frustrating, right? It really is, Patricia. It's definitely frustrating. I need to move the nose. It's looking a bit too Don Bluthy at the moment, so we'll just... It's a little bit too Don Bluth and not enough, not very Disney, so... There we go. That's better. You know what? That was actually looking okay, and I think I've ruined the nose a little bit, so I'm just going to step that back a bit. Go down to a lower subdivision, and then I'm going to change the shape of it. Now, I think for the eyes, I will take, or for the pupils even, we're going to take this duplicate of the P-sphere here, go back into our gizmo, and just shrink these down. And we'll go for a physical pupil instead of paint. And that can be quite useful when you're doing cartoon characters. You can leave the kind of white or this kind of the sclera of the eye. You can leave that static, and then you can just move the pupil around, and it gives you a pretty cool effect. Actually, let's just mirror that across. I think we've managed to capture his likeness pretty well. Push the eyes in, flatten them a bit. Subdivide a couple of times. And just set them into the socket a little bit more. Means we're going to have to move the eyes again because I've... Oops. There we go. Make them a wee bit smaller. And I think for... kind of that is there on the thing, but it's not in the image. But no, you know what? I'm going to get rid of this line and just push in instead. And we'll grab the move brush now, and I'm going to use the masking brush here to just mask out the top jaw. And that's going to let me push this part up. Move it back a bit. And do the same underneath. Okay. Got a little bit of a Adam's apple. You can see it ever so slightly. Apparently what is going on? Oh, Ziad's off. Why is Ziad off? There we go. Okay. Now I can just start to slowly clean up. Interesting. Let's turn that off. Okay, weird. Okay, sorry folks, bear with me 2 seconds. We're going to save, and I'm going to close ZBrush and reopen it. Something odd is happening. So I don't want to risk it crashing on me. So you will probably only see a black screen for a while until ZBrush reboots. And that weird noise was me opening a can. That's interesting. I knew something weird was happening there. Bear with me, folks. Bear with me, folks. This is one of the downsides to subscription-based software, in that my Maxon app has just broken and I had to repair it. So I will not say what I'm really thinking because this is the firestormstudio stream, but that's incredibly frustrating. So just bear with me while I fix this and try and get ZBrush running again. Come on, ZBrush, do your thing. And I think we're back. Okay. So we'll load back in our wolf, and we're going to bring in our reference. We go into the materials here. I just want to change up my sculpting material. I'm going to use these ones from Vidar Wrap, who I would strongly suggest you check out. It's got some great stuff. And I'm going to fill that object with 100% white to get rid of that mark. There we go. Do a little bit of housekeeping here, shall we? Do something like this. So, as always, folks, if you have any other queries or questions while I'm just doing a little bit of housekeeping, feel free to ask in the chat. And it can be about what we're doing today. It can be about the industry as a whole. The world is your oyster. So I'm going to turn on occlusion here and go into my render settings even, and just lower that a bit. So that's the eyes. I'm going to start coloring these. They've got a bit of a off-white yellow color for the eyes. So we'll fill that object there, maybe a bit brighter. There we go. And I think for the tooth here, we're going to lower it into the mouth a bit more, rotate it, and push it in. There we go, that's better. So I'm just going to rename this bone. Pupils. And teeth. We need to get those fur tufts. I'm going to leave that just now. I'm going to call this nose. And that is the ears. We've got the eyes. And the head. And I think for the head part, I think it's time that we did a Zbrush mesh. And or do I want to do that at this stage? Yeah, I'll do our Zbrush mesh at this stage. That's okay. We can always subdivide it higher. So I'll duplicate my model, take the top section, go into geometry and Zbrush mesh, push the target polygon up to 10 and hit Zbrush mesh. I'm going to instantly clean up all my geometry. And what I can do is I can subdivide it once, maybe twice, and then turn on the lower version, which is our Dynamesh. And then I can do a quick projection just with the geometry. That's going to pull in some of that detail we had. But I also need to go through, smooth everything out, and remove any lumps and bumps. And I might even just do a deformation and put a level of polish across the whole thing. Maybe let's put that up to 5. There we go. And we'll get rid of this one. The old one is gone. Do a quick save. There we go. Okay, folks. Right. Let's bring all of that back. Apart from that there. Don't need that. Nope. Bit of a mistake with the bone here. Just pull that in. There we go. And with this, I can delete the top level. And the reason I'm doing that is I just want to now focus on clean forms with the model. So anything that's looking a little bit lumpy, I'm going to go through and just smooth all that back. There we go. And hide that window, so I don't need it. And just start to kind of work up those details. And again, we don't need to go too far with it, because we're only replicating those kind of primary forms that the animators originally put in place to create the lines, if you will. When was the last time you saved your work? Oh, just a couple of minutes ago. We're all good. We are all good. I love how everyone has now realized that I forget to save all the time. Which, for somebody who's been doing this for so long, you would think I would be better at saving. I'm just not. I have a theory as to why. I think it's because I'm used to things just changing so often in my industry. You know, an asset here, an asset there, that I kind of just go with, well, I'll just redo it. Thanks, Holly. Thank you. I'm glad you like it. I know that this one was this one was a lot more popular than I expected, and it's kind of cool because originally for the letter W, we were going to do a Wendigo. We were going to do a cryptid, but I think doing this guy has been a much better idea. Much better idea. So we now just play around with some of the shapes, get everything lined up properly so that we can try and create that 2D effect, but in 3D, without having to resort to hand painting or cell shade. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean that, you know, when you're trying to do a 3D interpretation, normally the idea is that it's to work in 3 dimensions. And that's always kind of tricky. So we are probably going to do another Z remesh in a minute because I'm going to have to blend a few things together, but we want to refine all these shapes just that little bit more before we do that. Standard brush, drag rectangle, and we can pop in a few. Let's see here. Oh, it's not going to let us. Why are you doing that? Let's see. Oh, there we go. Don't have enough geometry. So again, and this is something you'll have to do constantly, is you'll finish off a form, then you'll add some subdivision, or you'll add a new shape. You have to go back, reshape the form, keep cleaning it until you're happy. Oh, that's the wrong brush. Oh, it's because I've got drag rectangle on. That's why. Put that back to drop to. So what I want to do here is, again, I'm going to use the mask tool. You can find it. Mask pen, mask lasso. Just add a bit more shape to his bottom lip. I'm going to go into stroke here and go into lazy mouse. It's turned on, but I'm going to increase lazy smooth. And this is just a nicer way to keep your stroke clean while you're sculpting. And then you smooth it back gently. We're just going to add that nice little lip. Then we can use the inflate brush to just run along the edge like so. All right. So still a few things I'm not overly happy with, but we have to move on. And I will still do a little bit of tweaking after the stream, just a little bit before I do the final render. But for the most part, it will stay exactly as it is. Now, let me see, what's the best way to do this? We're going to save for one thing. And we may have to Dynamesh again. We may have to Dynamesh again. So we're going to move the eyes down to here, bone, teeth, so that, and then the nose. I want to keep the nose separated. But all these parts, we might want to put together into one mesh. And then, yeah, that's what we're going to do. But first of all, I'm going to Dynamesh these on their own. That's fine. And now we obviously need to sculpt the fur. So we will go into deformation and we will just do a polish. We've got a couple of options when we're doing the fur. You can take something like your build-up brush, and I can take an alpha 61, and I can just start to sculpt in the fur like this. But honestly, that's a little bit too individual. It's a bit too large for me. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to use a brush. I'm going to use a brush that I have to speed things up. I'm going to go into my brushes and I'm going to go into hair and fur. And I'm going to use this chisel fur brush. Load this in. And that gives me several options. So I can simply drag this out. Okay, so I'm just going to smooth all this back. Into the shape, roughly the shape that we need. And then I'm going to use the chisel brush to create the effect I need. So we'll grab this. Might not actually do what I need, to be fair. You know what? I don't think it is going to do what I need. Not too bad, but need to try some other options here. Let me see. Ideally, I wanted to go down a stylized route, so I'm going to try these ones as well. That's kind of actually what I was looking for. These are just models. These are just insert mesh brushes that we've covered before. And allow me to kind of very quickly create the shape I need. I'm going to hide the bone so I can see what I'm doing here. That might work. So yeah, we'll use this. And then we'll do a few more. Actually, I know what I'm going to do now. I've got those in place, so I'm going to take these and do a delete hidden. And we're just going to use these clumps here as the default. Control click to copy these, and I can just build them up. Yeah, that looks okay. That'll work. And this is exactly the same as just spending some time sculpting out individual shapes. This is going to be a bit quicker for me to cover it during the stream. Let's do an auto group here. Turn off wireframe. And we'll do a couple more. So I'm going to do this one. Oh, weird. Why did that not do symmetry there? Okay, let's try group and group. There we go. And then for the top section, we can do our own addition to that. So I'm going to subdivide. I'm going to sculpt all these down, as in I'm going to dynamesh them down. So dynamesh them together. Let's do a little bit higher. Oh, that's better. And then I'm going to smooth them. Like so. And then we can reshape them as needed and blend them into the rest of the face. And if I take my snake hook brush, where are you? Snake hook. It's going to give me this only works best with Sculptris Pro. So I'm going to say OK and ignore it. And then I can use that to add out. You can just pull out. Going to make me use Sculptris Pro. Do stuff like this. Try that again. Snake hook. And we'll just do the top part. We take the clean build-up brush now and reset it. Turn off Sculptris Pro. And then if I make sure that backface mask is on, bring my resolution back. Now I can work over the top of each of those sections. So you see, even though I'm using a brush that I've found online as a starting point, never just use that. You know, you can always work on top of it and to kind of create an effect that's working better for the situation. Okay. I mean, obviously in some cases, yeah, you're going to be able to use it totally fine, but not every single time. So I'm going to just inflate that bit there, and I don't want there to be any kind of flyaway sections like this. So I'm going to inflate those and then re-dynamesh. There we go. And gaps like this as well, I will go in and inflate. And I do this more so just in case I want to print the object. So I can just smooth that out in there. How are we doing? Okay, folks. So we are, okay, we're just over 2 hours, but I kind of expected this one to go over a little bit. I'm always slower on a Friday. always slower on a Friday. So now that that's done, I can maybe take a few of these rough parts and we can indicate, but to be fair, I think it might be better if we just subdivided it together first before we do that, or merge it together. So let's do, let's take the character head and we're going to duplicate that out. So we'll duplicate it first. And then with that duplicated, I will, always the tricky part. Actually, you know what? Let's not do it that way. Let's do delete lower. And then that's the ears. So I'm going to subdivide them so they're a bit smoother. Delete lower. And then we'll do the same for these. So that's fine. Now I'm going to merge down. And merge down for the tufts as well. Okay. Now we're going to save. We're in dangerous ground here. So if everything goes wrong, it's going to go wrong now. So we're going to go into the options here, remesh by union. Hit accept for that. Now I'm going to go back to Sculptris Pro and I'm going to use that now to just merge the ears into the head. Nice and sneaky. And then we'll do the same for the tufts. We'll be a bit more careful here because we're right next to the jawline here. And then I just work my way around until all of that is connected. I'm going to turn off Sculptris Pro again and just, oh, what's happened to the, I don't know what's happened to the tooth there. I'll need to fix that. But now I can just start to kind of blend this a little bit better into the head. Max on app keeps popping up, which is starting to irritate me. If I'm being honest, it's really starting to irritate me. I'm just going to now blend the top of the head again, try and create that nice, clean, symmetrical, or symmetrical, kind of seamless look in the shape from the ears going on to the top of the head. Move this back. I think I might have to just use Sculptris Pro here just to shorten some of these sections, just to clean them up a bit. There we go. Don't want to spend too much time on the area at the back because you're not going to see it. And hide all the crimes. Turn the bone back on. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. We need to fix the shape here. Oh, I know that doesn't work. Turn it off then. So it's going to fix some of the shapes of the fur. Blend that back together. just take a little bit of an inflate brush there and just get a bit more of a lip around the mouth. And like I said, we're going to have to fix this tooth. I don't know what has happened there. So it looks like I've rotated it somehow. So I'll just delete one side of it, delete hidden, and give me a chance to subdivide that one more time, do a mirror, merge into one subtool, and it's sorted. Okay, so we're really close to finishing now, folks. I think we're really close. Let's get the nose subdivided up a bit more. There we go. Maybe make a few changes, get it to shape it in a bit more. And I'm just going to manually do this. There we go. A little bit of work to the front. Home stretch. Yes, the home stretch. Exactly. Let's lower that subdivision. Okay. Obviously, the last thing we need to do is the eyebrows. But what's funny about it is the eyebrows change. Sometimes they're fully grey and completely part of the creature of his head. Sometimes they are added, they're additional, like, and they're actually, you know, they're coloured to a certain degree. So that's something I'm having to kind of decide how I want to do it. Let me see here. Well, first of all, let's get the geometry there. So let's go, and sometimes you just got to do it. So let's do the brow shape here. Subtool, extract. We're going to put the smooth up to 100. We're going to take the thickness down to 0 and hit extract and accept. What that's going to do is give me some geometry here like this. And I'm instantly going to Z-remesh that. So we'll do Z-remesh. And then we will half it until we get something workable. That's good. Dynamic subdiv. And I will turn that on and add some thickness. And we're going to put the smooth down to 0 because I don't really want it that much. There we go. Looking all right so far. And then we'll just hit apply. Now I'm going to smooth out some of that shape and get it into position. We're just doing the head today, Nithium. Just for the sake of speed, we're just doing the head. And I'm going to fill that in grey. Okay, and then back to white. I'm going to switch back to basic material now. And the other thing about this is that he changes color as well. Sometimes he's brown and sometimes he's grey, but we're just going to go with grey for this, I think. So now that I've got this in, we're going to Yeah, I think we're just going to go with, it's going to take a little bit longer to do carefully, but I think it's going to be the quickest way overall. So we're going to turn on Sculptris Pro, and we are going to, although actually now I'm thinking, let me see here. Let me just try something, folks. Let me just try something. We're going to go into creature, and we're going to go to Dragon Lisco and try his fur brush. This might give us exactly what we need. Let's see. And it does. A little bit. Let's just see if it'll. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That's not bad. There we go. So now that we've got those, now they look a little bit too over the top right now. That's okay. We're just going to go into deformation and we'll polish them. There we go. Now I can go in with my AccuCurve on my brush and I can start to extend them out a little bit. The shape I need. Going to be a bit of a mess at the back, but we can clean that up just with a little bit of a smooth, or chances are it's going to be quicker to just Dynamesh it the shape that we need. A little bit more. There we go. And then we can just smooth all that back. A little bit of inflate, re-Dynamesh. And anything that's not looking quite right, we can just go through and clean up with an inflate brush. There we go. And the standard brush to add some shape to it. And I'm going to take the snake hook brush here again. If I can get the right key, there we go. Snake hook. Okay. Yes, yes, yes. And turn off RGB and start to, there we go. Grab the move brush and now just start pulling that back into the head. There's always going to be those little parts that you think, right, well, I need to add a bit more detail, but generally I just like to try and simplify these as best I can. And I'm just trying to get a shape that kind of works for me. Inflate it if I need to. I don't know why that's, there we go. And with that, what I will do now is I'll zero mesh these again and run a couple of polish modifiers on them just to clean them up a little bit. And then I can go in and clean them up asymmetrically as well. So Warrior Maddie 420, thank you very much, Warrior Maddie. Much appreciated. Not bad for where we are. We're at 2 hours and 20 minutes. That's not too bad. It's not too bad. So let's talk about potentially adding a little bit of, there's a bit in here that's annoying me. Got to fix it. Can't not fix it. Can't not fix it. Got to fix it. Some things I can leave, other things I just can't. Okay. So let's now turn off the symmetry and we'll get this part of the jaw fixed. Get the a little bit of asymmetry for the jaw, for the bone even. And now we're going to do a bit of paint work. So I'm going to go to my texture palette here, image plane, load image, and I'm going to load in my reference. And the reason I do this is going to allow me to find the right one. There we go. This is going to allow me to sample color from it. So I'm going to take that, and that's going to become the bone. So we'll do RGB of 100 and fill object. Okay. We're going to do a base color for him as this. So it's like a purpley gray. Fill object. The eyes. Fill object. And we'll do that same purpley gray for his eyebrows up here. You can probably imagine what I'm going to do with the eyebrows in a second. I'm going to merge them in a second once we get the color going. I think for the tooth, you know what? Yeah, let's just pull it in as that. Just do it exactly as it is. And for the nose, we'll do that. There we go. Now I am aware there's a lighter gray there, so we will do that for the inside of the ears. I'll do that now. So let's just clear off the background. With my paintbrush, I'm going to bring back my reference actually, so I know where I'm painting. There we go. Well, first of all, we are definitely painting on the inside of the ears. So we got symmetry on. Am I even on the right bit? No, I'm on the nose. There we go. There we go. So let's get the ear painted. It's going to be quite subtle. Maybe make it a little bit lighter so it shows up. There we go. That's better. So this is, dang it. We've got to put back face mask on. There we go. So after this one, we only have 3 more letters to go. And we will be doing all of those next week. We're going to be doing them because after next week, folks, my live streaming schedule is going to change. So a little bit of a spoiler there. I'm afraid. Not sure where it's going to change to yet, but it will. So, and I think for this now, we'll just symmetry's on. going to be the bottom part. There we go. Yes, that's what we want. And it comes down round here, all the way under the chin. Down to a little tuft at the bottom. And then just for the inside of the mouth, we'll just darken that up. Actually, you know what? Let's do a deep red color. There we go. Darken that up again, just for the inside of the eyes. Nice and fast. You don't have to worry too much about this. The final render we will do in Marmoset, and Marmoset is really good at just hiding some of the crimes that we do with some of these fast models. I think now we're going to move the pupil. So, oh, wait a minute. First, before we do that, we're going to merge these down. So merge down like so. And take the, yes, I am aware of that. Turn off backface masking. And now with symmetry on, I'm just going to take a really small brush and blend these together. Oh, wait, my apologies. I need to, why has that done that? I need to do a remesh by union. There we go. Merge those together with Sculptris Pro. And we're done. After we do a little bit of tweaking with the pupils. So we're going to take this one, move it down to there. Actually, that's all we needed to do. And we probably just need to adjust his head a little bit. Just going to go through and subdivide everything a little bit more. Yeah. Okay. Just flatten off the edges a bit. There we go. All right. Well, I think we can call that done. Change the material to skin shade. And yeah, I'm quite happy with that, folks. I am quite happy with that. We can also do something like flat color, which means you're just not going to see much, but you can see that silhouette wise, we're kind of there. You can also take something like the basic material here, and oh, I've changed my lighting. There we go. With the lighting itself as well, you can increase the ambient, and that will flatten it a little bit, like so. But we're going to be doing that in Marmoset, so that's not going to be really much of a problem. Yeah, just trying to have a look and see if there's anything that I'm wanting to do. No, I'm quite happy. I am quite happy, folks. I mean, the angle of his head, potentially. Maybe the angle of his head. Could also take our pinch brush and just, yeah, let's do that. Let's just take the pinch brush and just close up some holes. There we go. Perfect. Grab the paintbrush again and just fill in all the bits that I clearly missed. Don't hire me to paint your house. There we go, because I'll clearly miss bits. Yeah. And I think what I will do, just to finish off this model here, I'm going to take a very warm color and lower the RGB intensity down to 2 and fill it out there. That's better. Something that was bothering me a bit. Just needed a little bit, just to be a little bit warmer. And that can be version 15. All right. Okay, folks. Well, thank you all very much for once again joining me as we work through the A to Z of sculpting creatures inside of Zbrush. Next week, we will be sculpting on Tuesday. So I'll be back Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday of next week, where we're going to be finishing up the rest of the whole series, all 26. Yeah, it's been a very long series, but it's been a very rewarding one, and I hope that everyone has had a lot of fun watching along today, and I really hope that you've learned something as well. It just leaves me to say that to remind you all to please check the social links below the video if you want to find out more about what Firestorm Studios is up to. Particularly if you want to join our Discord, you'll find a link below, and you can come along, hang out with other like-minded artists, and you can also hang out with some of the Firestorm Studios team as well. And if you're looking for a mentorship, you can also reach out to Firestorm Studios as well to find out what we have on offer that might be of use to you. And if you have any questions, you can also jump into the Discord and ask directly. So it leaves me to say, I hope you all have a wonderful Friday, whatever is left of it, and to all have an amazing weekend when it comes. And I'll see you all next week, where we are moving on to the kind of the last 3, the final 3 of our A to Z series. All right, folks, take care, and I'll speak to you all again next time. Bye for now.